rebranding and reorienting. My mom told me that her life was, by analogy, like a tape recorder, tape cassette, and that when she was 30, she turned the tape over to start over again. And then when she was 60, she turned the tape over again to start over again. And she was always telling me, not always, but from time to time, that, you have to recreate yourself like the phoenix and rise from the ashes. It's interesting with Darwin that he said the survival of the species, the survival of the fittest is not to the strongest. And some people think it's the most intelligent. No, it's not even the most intelligent. It's the one that's the most adaptable. Although adaptability is probably part of intelligence as well. In life we have to be so flexible because, it's all about being able to navigate. It's kind of like a running back. You can't you can teach like certain things, but you can't teach like how to find the open hole, to zig and to zag. And sometimes in business you have to zig when others are zagging. Warren Buffett says that you have to be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when they're greedy. It takes great courage to do that. Dan Sullivan talks about the 4 steps of business success or life success, both. The first one is commitment. Unless you're committed to things, you'll just give up and you won't stick through. People want to have confidence and capabilities, but he says that comes afterwards. The commitments have to come first. Then the second part is courage, that you have to be able to see it through with the commitment, even when it's hard and even though you don't know that you're going to be successful. And that's where the courage comes through. Some people might call that faith. So it's according to Dan Sullivan, and he's an amazingly smart guy. He's the coach for Peter Diamandis, and he's got 8 different podcasts that are really good. One of them is with Mike Koenig, who's another great guy. So anyway, the first one is commitment. The second one is courage. The third one is capability. Then what happens is if you stick with it and stick with it and stick with it, and you're adaptable and you're flexible, you'll develop the capability. And then when you develop the capability, you'll develop the confidence. But each new thing you try, as Dan Sullivan says, you have to go through those 4 steps. You can't just say, well, I've mastered all these skills, now I don't have to go through the 4 steps. In each of the 4, you're going to have to go through courage again and commitment. And, courage is the hard part. That's why I think courage, to me, is kind of like the most important skill. That and self-discipline, because self-discipline is called the master skill that makes all the other skills possible. But courage really is, courage, like when everybody doubts you, even maybe perhaps like, your close friends or your family or even your spouse. Do you really have the inner fortitude and conviction, to persevere when other people don't believe in you? It's easy to persevere when other people do believe in you, but sometimes in life they do and sometimes in life they don't, so you can't always count on it. In business they call it a pivot. So rebranding and reorientating that, like Slack, for example, they were a totally different company, but then they were almost bankrupt, and Stuart Butterfield pivoted to Slack. It was one of just their internal tools. So in life, be glad that you have all these capabilities. Be glad that you have the intelligence or the support or the money or whatever you have. But also realize that you're going to have to be flexible. You're going to have to be adaptable. There's a famous expression that says, necessity is the mother of invention. Really smart people are flexible even before they have to be. I mean, anybody, I guess, can be pretty resourceful when their back is up against the wall and they have no choice. But they're really, it's kind of a cognitive mindset of openness. Like some people are very rigid. They're very smart, but they're very locked into their ideas. The really wisest and most successful people, I think they're always rethinking things. They're always asking themselves better questions. They say it's not the answers you come up with, it's the questions, because better questions lead to better answers. Dan Sullivan taught me that one also, so I have to give props where props are due. But basically, flexibility, adaptation, rebranding, and reorientation. And like my mom says, turn the tape over and rise like the phoenix.